Okay, hey nerds. Today we are diving into the chaos, humor, and heartbreak of our campus life with the brilliant Heather Colley. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. Heather is the author of The Gilded Butterfly Effect, a honest look at the pressure of modern college life from ambition and body image to belonging and burnout. She is a PhD student at Oxford, an award-winning short story writer, and she has that perfect dark academia meets wit energy we love here at Fiction Fanatics. Heather, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited you could make time for us.
Thank you so much. I'm
Yay.
so excited to be here and to chat about the book.
Yay.
Welcome,
So
welcome.
Thank
before we
you.
get too far into things, we kind of like to hear like if you wanted just a little elevator pitch or like a little summary of the book, if you don't mind, for everybody out there.
Sure. The book is a campus novel that follows two sort of unlikely friends, two undergraduates, Stella and Penny. Stella is a sorority girl, and Penny sort of is struggling to find her place in the world. And they become entangled in one another's lives and in the fraternity and sorority system at a large university.
So
Very
exciting.
cool. Yeah, very cool. So what like inspired you to write the Gilded Butterfly Effect? What was was there a specific thing or book or yeah, your experience?
Yeah, I'm very much inspired by what I read. In a lot of ways, what I read is always informing what I write. But I went to the University of Michigan, which is where the book is set. And just as an undergrad, I always thought that the Greek life system and especially the sorority house would be an amazing setting for fiction. And I just thought that there's all kinds of imagination that you can put into that house, into the sorority house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super fun. So how did you pick the title specifically?
The
Gilded Butterfly
title
Effect. Yeah.
the title comes from Shakespeare's King Lear. It's a
Oh.
the full quote comes from the end of the play, and I think it's something like "We will all laugh at gilded butterflies," and to me, the image kind of represents this idea of a beautiful creature, the butterfly that's kind of gilded in a veneer, like a thin veneer of gold, which I think is a really apt metaphor for the girls in the book, especially. And I've always just loved that image.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
that is really cool. I haven't read that since like high school Shakespeare. Yeah.
Totally fair. It's not light fun reading.
Yeah.
Um, so you said that your like college experiences inspired you to like make the setting of the book, but like what else about your college experience have you kind of put into the book? Was there other parts that um yeah, just you kind of drew from in writing this book?
Yeah, I really like making settings almost like characters in novels so that the settings act in their own way and influence the characters and the plot as well. So I loved the Midwestern setting in this book. I just thought that there was so much that you could do with the Midwest in terms of weather and in terms of imagery and descriptions in that sense. So definitely going to college in the Midwest gave me that inspiration. And I've always thought that that's an interesting place in the States to set fiction for a lot of reasons.
Hmm.
Mm.
For sure. Do you find it, this is just like a personal question, do you find it very different now living in the UK, going to college in the UK versus your time in Michigan?
They're quite different, especially um, you don't have the sort of Michigan sports culture here at all.
Mm.
College sports don't really exist in the UK in the same way. So the spirit and the fanfare around something like college football is completely foreign to UK students. So yeah, there's quite a few cultural differences I think between the two universities.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's so
Um,
interesting to hear. We're from the Midwest. We're in Indiana. So, yeah, we definitely get
understand that.
that. Yeah. I mean, we're not big sports fans, but like we understand it. So,
Yeah, it's part of life in the States, and it's
yeah.
different here in the UK.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so you said that this book asks, how much of ourselves do we lose trying to belong? Can you kind of just unpack that question and how you kind of dive into that within the story?
Yeah, the book focuses on this one sorority, and Stella is a member of that sorority, and Penny becomes involved in the sorority as a result of her friendship with Stella. And I think one of the central issues that all of the girls in the sorority deal with is belonging and the balance between belonging and friendship and just completely losing yourself in the system itself. One thing that Stella says early on in the novel is like she feels like all of her sisters are replicas of her and she's a replica of them. And I didn't mean that in a literal sort of physical sense. I meant that more in the way that they see themselves. They see themselves as a conglomerate and as a member of their sorority before they see themselves as individuals, which I think is a lot of the reason why they end up making really questionable decisions in the name of the sorority. They don't think about how they can be individuals and how their choices can impact them.
Mm, yeah, that's so true. And I feel like that doesn't just apply to like sorority life. It could be like a sports team or
Yeah.
yeah, just like a really tight like clique,
Absolutely. I think
yeah.
especially amongst young people,
Mhm.
any sort of group that is difficult to get into in some way and holds that as important for the group
Mhm.
members, whether in high school or college or adult
Yeah.
life, I think can have very similar dynamics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Um, so again, kind of on the same vein, like what made you want to kind of explore the idea of like isolation or loneliness being while also being surrounded by this close-knit group of friends and like schoolmates and stuff. And how did you do that? How does that kind of show up again within this book?
I think the feeling of loneliness amongst a big group of people or amongst a huge campus, especially, is really common amongst, I think, especially women.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to write about these issues, to treat them explicitly, and to say exactly how they are, no matter how dark that might get, for readers that might themselves feel alone in these issues. For a somewhat universal problem, which is loneliness in college. It's something that I think everyone in college at some time feels. I think it's sort of glossed over. We focus so much on getting into college, and then we sort of let people on their own and have them make their
Mhm.
own ways of it. So I just think it's important to highlight these issues, which impact so many of us. Um, for the girls in the book, they are grappling a lot with loneliness. And one of the sort of images that I use throughout the book is that if you were someone like Penny or an outsider looking at these girls, you would think that everything is perfect. They're surrounded by their friends, they're having a great time, they're getting attention from boys, and they seem so happy. But once you get into Stella's head, you realize that she's actually very lonely and that she, like a lot of people, struggles with that just the same.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is such a common like thing or issue. Yeah, like you said, particularly with women in college. And it's also just like such a transitional period too, like
Yeah.
college, where it's like the first time that you're like living away from home and meeting new people. So it can be super isolating. Um, so yeah, that's so interesting to, like you said, have these like dichotomies of like, oh, it seems like it's all fun, but it's actually can be, yeah, super sad at sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm. Um, so I'm sure you've either seen or heard, but like Rush life and sorority life has really blown up, particularly on TikTok, right? Like
Yeah.
Bama Talk and
It's
everything.
crazy.
Yeah.
What's like your take on that? Whether it's like it's great and fun, or do you just feel like that culture and fascination with kind of belonging, especially with sorority, is like a good thing now that we're kind of like fascinated with it, right? Obsessed
Yeah,
with
I think it's an interesting I don't know that I have specific like judgments on whether rush talk in general is positive or negative, but
Mhm.
I do think it makes a lot of sense that people are fascinated by it. And I get it as well, like on my feed, the rush talk thing. And if you look through their comments, people are like tuning in from Sweden. Like, I have no idea what this is, but I think it's really interesting.
Mhm.
And I think that that has to do with kind of a very real impulse to be interested in things that are exclusive. Not many people, uh, and it's even a smaller subset globally because it's such an American thing, but very few people will be in a sorority house one day and will actually see behind the curtain. And I think anything like that, whether it's a society or an institution, anything with that level of exclusivity is fascinating to people because you
Mhm.
want to know what's going on. You're curious, and there's a veil of secrecy around it. And that I think is what the sororities and the fraternities play on for their power in a lot of ways. Like you have to be accepted, you have to be recruited, you have
Mhm.
to be chosen, and that gives people a sense of power within the system. And I think that's part of the popularity of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And again, this kind of goes into what you were just talking about, but like, do you think institutions, universities, it seems like you do kind of purposefully do this where they create this, like you said, exclusivity and they make it fun, but it also has this darker side to it, right? That we've seen this before that they don't really like to acknowledge, right? Like
Mhm.
there's hazing that goes on and um do you think that they like to create these spaces where, okay, it's fun, it's exclusive, but they're okay with the negative parts that come with it because of the attention it brings and the
Yeah.
money that it brings in.
Yeah, I think it's a great question because Greek life and the university itself are so usually so deeply intertwined.
Hmm.
They
Mhm.
have a very specific relationship that depends on the fraternities and the sororities staying in line to a certain extent. Uh, and the university in return, yeah, they get money. They get students. A lot of students are interested in this. It gives their school a certain
Mhm.
appeal. It gives their school a social life. It helps the economy of the towns. It gives kids housing. All of these things that actually do benefit the schools themselves. So there is an interesting trade-off that they have going on. I think, unfortunately, the exclusivity and the darker stuff that comes with that, the hazing, the super high social expectations, the misogyny, the ingrained misogyny, I think that kind of comes hand in hand with the exclusivity. Like, it's exclusive because you have to go through all of this. So
Yeah.
you get the fun and you get the parties and the friends because you're sacrificing something else, whether that's alcohol dependency or a huge amount of social pressure or the feeling that you have to look a certain way. And I think that's a requirement of the elitism of the whole thing. You have to give something in order to be accepted.
Hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Which is like, it's also goes back to like, it's the choice. Like, okay,
Mm.
yeah, like, how bad do you want it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they want people that want it that badly because they truly
Mhm.
believe in it, and then it gets
Yeah.
perpetuated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So since these are like really heavy, dark themes, right? Drug use, assault, body dysmorphia, kind of woven throughout. Why did you decide to use humor like in your book? What was the
It,
point of using that in
yeah.
contrast to those dark themes?
I think, like I think I mentioned before, I do a lot of what my favorite writers do, and I'm very much inspired by everything that I read, and I gravitate towards writers who deal with dark issues, sometimes with wit and humor and irony. So I think I naturally try to incorporate that because it's what I like. But I think more broadly, I think it kind of represents quite a human reaction to hard
Mhm.
things. I think a lot of times when you hear something bad or something quite terrible is happening, we have an instinct to laugh, and it's like an absurd reaction that doesn't really make any sense,
Mhm.
but it is just kind of a part of psychology. It's you're trying to lighten something up that is really hard mentally. And I think especially with these girls, that's what they're trying to do. They are aware on some level that all of this is not right. There's something really wrong with the system, with their decisions, with the boys that they're with. Um, but because they're not ready to acknowledge that head on, they look at it kind of sideways through humor and their irony and sarcasm so that they don't have to fully dissect what's really going on.
Yeah. Do you ever like worry about like the balance between like being funny and then just being raw with like uncomfortable truths?
Yeah, the book deals with a lot of heavy issues, especially concerning young womanhood, and I never want the humor to be making light of those issues themselves. I don't
Mhm.
find them funny, and they're not funny. What I want the humor to do is be a tool for the characters and to show characterization, to show that these characters are using humor as a coping mechanism to deal with these terrible things. Not that I, as the author, or that readers should think that these things are funny, but rather to see the way that these girls are probably not in an especially healthy way dealing with them.
Yeah. Yeah. That was perfectly worded.
So I kind of have like a personal question. We love this is why your book is so interesting. We love kind of like darker topic books and themes. And so you had kind of mentioned authors that like inspire you. Can you tell us about some of your authors that inspire you and like some of their books that you love? We're always looking
Yeah,
for new things to read.
Hmm.
sure. Yeah, I am inspired by a lot of different authors. I study literature, so
Mhm.
I over the years have had so many inspirations, but I am really drawn to authors that have really idiosyncratic voices. So I love an author who hypothetically you wouldn't have to see the cover or the name, but once you start reading, you know who it is because of
Mm.
how idiosyncratic their voice is. So that's like for me a lot of postmodernists from the 80s and 90s, so Toni Morrison, Vonnegut, Martin Amis, and then more contemporary people, people like Ainsley Hogarth, Hallie Butler, Tiffany McDaniel, a lot of literary fiction writers who I think have super specific voices that I just love.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
thank
Yeah,
you.
like you
Yeah.
said, very distinct races. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very cool. Um, so the ending of the book kind of blurs the line between like reality and like what might not be. Why did you decide to make the choice to end it like that?
I really like sort of non-prescriptive endings. I like when I read to be able to come up with my own idea based on my interpretation of what might happen at the end once the book is finished. So that's what I've tried to do. And I think one of the most fun things about reading and about literature is the possibility of multiple interpretations. So I have tried to write the book so that there's a few different ways that you might look at the book once you get to the end. And I love books that reward a reread. So once you've got to the ending and have come to your conclusion, you read it in a sort of different way again.
Mhm.
Uh, and I just find that to be really fun. I find that to be the most fun, kind of intellectually stimulating part of reading. So I've tried to do that here as well.
Yeah. What, like, how did you want your readers to kind of interpret the ending? I guess what did you think that they would take away from it and directions that they would kind of go in?
Yeah, I think there's a few major directions I think that you could see the relationship between Stella and Penny. On the one hand, you could take it all as fact, right? And this has happened, and uh, Penny meets a tragic end, and Stella's deeply impacted it, but her psychiatrist sort of just it's a never ending cycle of these drugs. I think you could also see it that Penny is a figment of Stella's imagination, right? She's a product that Stella created in her mind to deal with the trauma from the previous year.
Mhm.
And so in her mind, Stella, spoilers, kills her off. Um, and that's how she copes with everything that's happened. And I don't actually know which one it is. I don't like I really don't. I think in order to write both possibilities, you can't necessarily believe in one. You have to sort of just believe that both of them are possible.
Mhm.
So I think both can be really interesting reads. But I didn't write it with one in mind. I had several strains that I thought I wanted to make possible.
So when you were writing the book, did you know the ending or how you were going to write the ending?
Yeah, I
Okay.
almost always with my fiction write the ending very early. I wrote the end, the last scene, like probably when I only had a few scenes of the book. So I
Wow.
would and that's how you can write ambiguous kind of books like that. You have to have the ending because it's got to all in the end line up.
Makes
Uh,
Well,
sense.
yes, that's what I was wondering is like, is, yeah, did you like have to like go back and like change some things in order to make it,
Work.
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
make it work.
I did still have to because it's hard when when one of the avenues for interpretation is that it's all sort of happening in one of your character's head. So
Hmm.
Mhm.
like you'll see if you reread it based on that interpretation that anytime Penny is speaking to someone that's not Stella, it's through Stella's eyes. So she sees
Mm,
talking to Trip, but you don't know that anyone else is seeing that, right? And
mm,
sees Leah talking to Trip, or it's from Penny's perspective, which could very easily just be Stella's imagination, right? Speaking from a different point of view.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we don't have like other people sort of confirming much. It's
Hmm.
all skewed through Stella. And so
yeah,
I think
So fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
yeah. That is very cool, but also like hard to plan out, like very intentional planning out to make it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, it's just details. Once you know, you go back and you just kind of go through every detail and make sure that it aligns with certain readings.
Hmm. Yeah,
as
that's
as a reader, as like a reader, I love endings like that, and also like so frustrating at the same time, which I think is what makes it so great because you just think about it afterwards. Like it
hmm
makes me just like like Fight Club or Bonnie and like I Love You Bonnie and stuff, like books like this that we have read in the past. It's just you always think about it. I feel like after the fact, like what's really going on. So
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And to me, that's the mark of a great book. You're thinking about it, trying to figure out what really happened. And I think it's great when your perception of the book can change over time. Like you might read this book
Hmm.
at 20 and have one interpretation, and then 10 years later be like, oh my God, I totally see the other read. And I
Hmm.
Hmm.
think that's one of the most fun things about it.
Yeah, totally. Because your
Love it.
experience has changed or
Right.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, okay, we're just gonna do some like a quick little game, quick fire questions. What would you say is your favorite Dark Academia movie, or if you have a favorite Dark Academia book, if you can't think of a movie, whichever.
Yeah. I think The Secret History has to be probably my favorite dark academia. It's sort of like I think it's the mother of dark academia as we know it. I love that it's dark and complicated and it has a claustrophobic group of sort of weird students.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd have to say that's my favorite.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's on my TBR. I need to read. That's my plan is to read it this coming year.
It's a
Um,
really good winter read.
yeah, yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
heard of it before. Who's it by?
Donna Tartt.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to
Yes.
check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Have you read The Goldfinch by her?
Yes.
Is that good too?
It is good. It is really long. I would
Yeah.
probably start with The Secret History. Like, The Goldfinch took me so long to read. It's super dense, and I think The Secret History, like, moves a bit quicker.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I'll start with that one. Okay. What is your coffee order during finals week?
Uh, a Starbucks cold brew, just because 'cause they're so caffeinated. Like, I've never
So good.
had, like, a more caffeinated kind of coffee shop drink than specifically their cold brew.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
have what's your like normal coffee order if you're not during like
An oat milk latte, very standard, iced usually. I love iced coffee.
okay. Okay, nice. That's what I
Love them both. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, do you prefer New York Cafe or the library at Oxford? Is
The
that
library.
is that like the Radcliffe, what Radford? I don't know how to say.
Yeah, so one of the that's the kind of iconic library, the
Yeah,
Radcliffe, and it's just like, you just can't beat these places for studying. They are unbelievably gorgeous, and you're, like, forced to study because you're surrounded by hundreds of years of literary history, so you're like, I really have to do this here.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
Okay, what would you say is a book that perfectly captures organized chaos?
Uh, I think Martin Amis's Money, which came out in the 90s, probably, maybe the late 80s. And it is half set in New York City in the 80s, half set in London. And
Okay.
it's so chaotic. The main character is so questionable, but because of the way he writes, it's all very well structured. Like he was a
Okay.
genius, and it's so clear how clever he is with his plotting, which makes me feel like it's organized. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great one.
Okay. Okay. I'll have to check that out for sure. Okay, so if you had a soundtrack for the Gilded Butterfly Effect, what is on track one? Or it doesn't have to be the first track, but any song on there.
Yeah, well, I was in college from like 2016 to 2020, and so I have very distinct memories of songs that were really popular at that time. So I immediately think of like Closer by the Chainsmokers.
Ugh,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Always a classic.
Yeah, which is like that I when I was like 19, I thought that that was like a masterwork.
The
I
best
thought it
song.
was the best song. And so in my mind, that's the sort of music that's playing in the back
Mhm.
of this
In the
book.
background, yeah, at a cafe or
Ugh,
something.
love it, love it, love it.
It probably is. Okay. Well, good job. You won the game. Can you tell us like what's next? Any like future projects, anything that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I have a short story collection coming out in February of next year, 2026. Uh,
Okay.
one of the stories is told from Stella's perspective, but you don't have to have read the book in order to sort of understand. It can stand alone as well.
Hmm.
So that's out next year, and then I'm starting my second book as well.
That's so
Wow. It's
exciting.
exciting. Can
Yeah.
you tell us anything about it or not? Not yet.
I it's super. It's like a baby, like an infant right now. I have very
A
little.
newborn.
You're like it's an outline stages.
Yeah. But I'd like for it to I was a teacher for a year in a high school in London, and I think, like, having done that, there's just so many options for fiction in that setting.
Mhm.
I'd like for it to be from the perspective of, I think, a teacher in a school.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, your short stories that are coming out in February, is that all like fiction short stories?
Yep, all
Okay.
fiction. There's 10 of them, I believe. I think a few of them have been published in magazines, so they're available online.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is my first full-length collection.
Ah,
And where can people find your short stories as well as the Gilded Butterfly Effect?
Yeah, so everything, including my social media, is on my website, which is just heathercolleyauthor.com. I'll put when you can pre-order the short stories, I'll put that on there as
yeah.
well. You can get the Gilded Butterfly Effect there too. And then I also am always updating my social media as well with everything.
Yeah,
Oh, so
that's
exciting.
awesome. Yay. Everyone can check you out. Thank you so much for joining us. This was
And
great.
taking the time, we
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it, especially with like the time change and stuff for you. So hopefully
yes.
it's not too bad.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
for sure. I
fine.
know you're obviously very busy. So, yay, everyone check out the Gilded Butterfly Effect. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.